YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about the song You Belong to Me by Michael McDonald and the Doobie Brothers. This was from a 1977 album by the Doobies called Living on the Fault Line. As before, I'm going to play you a snippet of the song, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down and show you how to play this keyboard song on solo acoustic guitar. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about how to play this great tune by Michael McDonald. As I said before, this 1977 song was originally done with a lot of keyboards in it. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to go ahead and adapt this for solo acoustic guitar. So it's a little easier to play. Now, the song starts out on, it's in E flat major, so it starts out on an E flat major 7th with an F bass. Now, the reason that this chord is with an F bass, because you got to get this little bass line down. And let me just show you. I'll play it first, and then I'll explain how to do it. Okay, it's... Okay, so what you're trying to do is you're trying to go to your normal... If you went to your normal E flat major 7th position, you would take your ring finger and you would cover up the 3rd fret of the G string, the B string, and the high E string. And then you would put your pointer finger on the 1st fret of the D string. That's a normal E flat major 7th. But what you're going to do is you're going to take this finger, your pointer finger, and you're going to put it on the F note on the low E. And because you're trying to re-simulate the bass line, which goes... And so in order to do that, you can kind of get that sound by playing with the F bass. So it's... And you're going to do sort of a plucking activity. You're going to pluck the F note, and then you're going to pluck the lower or the high 3 strings, which are the other part of the E flat major 7th chord. So it's... And walk up. So it's... Okay? You can either do it with your pinky finger or your ring finger. So it's... Okay? And that leads you to the second chord in the song, which is a G7 suspended. Now, a G7 suspended is a fairly easy chord to play because it's essentially taking your ring finger and putting it on the 3rd fret of the low E string here. And then you take your pointer finger and you put it on the 1st fret of the high E and the B string. And you're plucking just those, the low E and then the 3 high strings. So that's G7 suspended. And the way that goes together in this song is really important because you're going, remember I just showed you the E flat major 7th, so you're getting that little bass line, so it's... So you're ending up on the G note, which is the 3rd fret of the low E, and then you're gonna pluck on the G7 suspended notes here on the 1st fret. So it's just the way you have to get that little sound. It's how they simulate the keyboard part. It's how I simulate it anyway. So it's... So let me do it slow. Whoops. Okay? Then you go to the third chord, which is a C minor ninth. The C minor ninth is in the is made by putting your middle finger on the third fret of the A string, and then you put your ring finger on the third fret of the G string and the little finger on the third fret of the B string, and then you use your pointer finger and you put it on the first fret of the D string. And you're just plucking the middle four strings. Typical C minor ninth sound. So the way those three chords go together is like this. Let me go ahead and play it. Why'd you tell me this? Will you look for my reaction? Okay, see, and you just got to get that in tune with the way the words are and the way that Michael McDonald sings it. I like the way he sings it better than C.Simon. Okay, so anyway, first two lines of the verse are like that. Also, they're going to just repeat that little riff that I just showed you, starting on the E flat major seventh with an F bass, to a G7 suspended, to a C minor ninth. Okay, and then you do that for two lines in the first two lines of the verse. Listen to the record to really understand how to do that. So let's go ahead and talk about the third line, which is, it starts on the A flat major seventh, which is made by putting your first finger on the fourth fret of the low E string, your middle finger on the fourth fret of the B string, your ring finger on the fifth fret of the D string, and your little finger on the fifth fret of the G string, and you're plucking just those four strings. You're not going to play the A string in this, so it's you don't have to prove to me you're, and you're plucking, and then you're going to go to a D minor seventh with a flattened fifth. Now that's an easy chord because it's essentially you're just covering up the first fret of the G, the B, and the high E. And you're just playing it with the D as the bass string. Okay? So that goes, you don't have to prove to me you're beaut. And then you're going to go to a G augmented. A G augmented is made by basically putting your first finger on the third fret of the high E, and then you put your middle finger on the fourth fret of the G string and your ring finger on the fourth fret of the B string, and you're playing from the D down. Standard G augmented sound. And then you're going to resolve that to a C minor seventh. C minor seventh in the third, up on the third fret here. Just basically laying your first finger across all of the strings, and then you put your middle finger on the fourth fret of the B string, your ring finger on the fifth fret of the D string, and your little finger on the fifth fret of the G string, and you're just plucking from the fifth string. You're not playing the low E in this. Okay, so let me go ahead and play that. So it's, you don't have to prove to me you're beautiful to strangers. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about that last chord. You're going to go to a C minor seventh, which is made by putting your first finger on the third fret and laying it across these five strings, starting on the third fret of the A string, and then you put your middle finger on the fourth fret of the B string, and then your ring finger on the fifth fret of the D string. So you get a C minor seventh sound. So the way that sounds is, you don't have to prove to me you're beautiful to strangers. Okay, so it's A flat major seventh, to a D minor seventh, flat and fifth, and then to a G augmented, to a C minor 7th, and then back to an A flat major 7th. I've got A flat major 7th to a C minor 7th with a quick stab. And then you go to an F 7th, which is made in the first position by putting your first finger on the across all the strings on the first fret. And then you put your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, and then you put your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. And then you're going to go to an A flat with a B flat bass. Now an A flat with a B flat bass is made by basically placing your fingers starting on the 1st fret of the A string, and you just lay it down over all the strings, and you're just going to play the middle 4 strings. So it's okay. And then you're going to go back to the G7 suspended, which I showed you before. So let me go ahead and play the last 2 lines of the verse itself. So and that way you get it. And I'll sort of play it slowly and call out the chords. So it's A flat major 7th, D minor 7th with the flat and 5th, G augmented to a C minor 7th, A flat major 7th to C minor 7th to an F 7th, A flat with a B flat bass, and a couple of stabs at the end on G7 suspended. So let me go ahead and sing that last part. Actually, I'll sing the whole verse, and hopefully that'll help you get this the feel of this song. So it's almost forgot. What you need to know, don't you all be the one. You don't have to prove to me you're beautiful to strangers. I've got loving eyes of my own. Okay, and then the second verse is exactly the same as I played it before, and it ends the same way. Then it's going to go into the chorus, which starts on a B flat minor 9th. So a B flat minor 9th. Let me play it first, and then this is really how the song, the main part of this song, if you listen to the recording. So it's, you belong to me. I like to get a little bit of reverb on there, maybe a little delay on the as I'm plucking. The first chord is a B flat minor 9th. Now it's up here on the 6th fret. You just lay your first finger over all the strings on the keyboard here, or on the fretboard, and then what you do is you put your middle or your ring finger on the 8th fret of the A string, and then your little finger on the 8th fret of the high E string. And you got to make sure you get the bass in here, and you got to get the high E. So it's, so that's a B flat minor 9th, and then it's resolved to an F minor 11th. Now an F minor 11th is an easy chord because you just lay your fingers over all the strings on the 1st fret, and then you use the F here in the first position of the low E as the bass. So it's, I like to emphasize the bass, so it's, I'm emphasizing the B flat here, and then the F. You belong to me, tell him you were fooling. You belong to me, Oh, you belong to me. Okay. All right. After he plays the chorus the first time, then he goes to an interlude, and it's a keyboard interlude that he then there's sort of an overlay on the keyboard chords itself. The interlude starts out on a D flat major 7. Now, a D flat major 7th is made on the 4th fret by putting your first finger on the 4th fret of the A string. You put your middle finger on the 5th fret of the G string, your ring finger on the 6th fret of the D string, and your little finger on the 6th fret of the B string. And you're plucking just the 4 middle strings. Then you're going to go to a C7th in the first position. And then you're going to go to an F minor 11th, what I showed you before, just laying down across the first fret. Okay. Then you're going to go to an A flat major 7th, which I showed you before. Then you're going to resolve that slightly to an A flat 7th, which is made by laying your finger across all the strings of the 4th fret. You put your ring finger on the 6th fret of the A string and your middle finger on the 5th fret of the G string. Okay. Then you're going to go back to the A flat with the B flat bass, which is essentially starting on covering all the strings on the A string, 1st fret, and just laying it down there and just plucking the middle 4 strings. It's a little strike variation. And then you're going to bounce to a B flat. And you do that by just laying your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the D, G, and the B. So it's... So you're going from an A flat with a B flat bass to a B flat. Okay? And then you're going to go to a B flat, which is made by, I do a half bar B flat, which is made by putting your first finger on the 4th fret of the A string. Then you just lay your ring finger on the 6th fret of the D string, G string, and B string, and pluck the middle 4 strings. Go back to the D minor 7th, flat and 5th, and then end it on a C7th to cause suspension. And then it's back to the chorus again. Okay, so I know I went through those chords fast. Let me show you how they sound in the interlude. So I'll play the last 2 lines of the first chorus, and then I'll go into the interlude and I'll go slow and I'll call out the chords. Well, actually, let me play it at full speed, then I'll call out the chords. So, you belong to me, telling me's a stranger, you belong to me. Here we go. Okay, so let me call out those chords real slow. So we're into the chorus again. The first time it's played. Last line, you belong to me. Tell him is a stranger. Then you're going to go back to the F minor 11th. So it's D flat major 7th to a C7th, F minor 11th to an A flat major 7th. A flat 7th, and then A flat, B flat, bounce to a B flat, D flat, D minor 7th, flat and 5th to a C7, and then the outro is essentially just repeating this, and a vocal ad lib basically. you belong to me. Tell him you were fooling, you belong to me. Oh, you belong. Okay, folks, that's how you play the song You Belong to Me by Michael McDonald and the Doobie Brothers, also done by C.Simon. So hopefully you've gotten some good info. If you don't, go ahead and leave me a question or comment on my YouTube channel and I will get back with you. As always, have a great day and we'll catch you later.